Hello class. I'm going to be going over the AP Digital portfolio. This is actually from the test. It's an actual screenshot from it. So look at the indicators that are there. We're going to copy those. So say this is one of my images. Selected works section. Remember, I get 3 of those now because the parameters were changed this year. There's a box that says height and width. Ideas. You get 100 characters for that. Materials, 100 characters. Processes, 100 characters. You only get 100 characters each. That's not 100 words. It's 100 letters, spaces, commas, periods, what have you. It has to be brief. So I'm typing this out. I don't know exactly how long it is. I'm not counting as I type. I'm just going to type out basically a sentence that I think is going to fit the idea behind this project. I'm going to highlight it. And this is really important. Tools. Word count. It'll show you the number of words you're actually using. I only use 10 in this particular sentence. But the characters I've used is 69. Remember, I get 100 characters total. I actually have a little bit more that I could put if I wanted to. Remember, it's 100 characters maximum. Whether you're using Google Docs or Microsoft Word, it's the same thing. You go up to Tools, you select Word Count. You're going to need this a lot. So far, all of the submissions that I've had for the digital portfolio are far too wordy. They're good as statements in and of themselves, but for the requirements of the digital portfolio, they have to be more concise. So I'm going to do the same thing with materials here. Should be easy to describe my materials in less than 100 characters. I'm going to formulate it just a little bit. I'm only at 41, so I'm going to go ahead and make it a proper sentence. Double check. Yeah, we're good. Okay, and processes. I'm going to do the same thing. Now with this, I'm going to go ahead and type something out, but I'm going to decide that I am not going to use that right here. Well, maybe that was a different one. There's going to be some changes that I make. I'm way over. I got to narrow this thing down. So what am I going to cut? This is all revision, and you're going to need to do a lot of it to get this right. I've given you the exact parameters that you need for the test. So it's your job to do as much revision as possible and then submit it to me for final approval. You have to get your ideas down to the most fundamental form. If you did anything interesting in terms of your processes, something different than just I drew a picture, we want to hear about it. Plein air technique is painting outside. I collaged to match values and approximated forms. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and narrow it down even further. The point is that revision is a big part of this, and that's what I wanted to show in this video, is you're not just going to sit down and type it out right the first time. It's going to take revision. You need to use your word count. You need to make sure that it makes sense. You need to read it out loud to yourself. or have somebody proofread it for you. I'm at 98. Perfect, right on the money. Okay. Now, for sustained investigation, you actually have less space than the selected works to describe it, because you only do the materials and the processes with 100 characters each. Your ideas portion goes into a combined section of 1200 characters. Height, width. If you do this correctly, according to the parameters that are set up and that have been communicated to you, you can literally just copy and paste this into the test. That is the point. So make sure you're referencing that information that I've given you on this. Okay. I used similar materials. I didn't have to change much there. And then I need to talk about my process. I decide right here that that portion I actually want to put into my longer explanation of my sustained investigation. So I copied it down so that I could put it in my sustained investigation response a little bit later. It's just a little too wordy for my processes section. There. So I'm going to do the same thing with this other skeleton. In the sustained investigation section, you have two driving points that you have to answer. What is the inquiry that drove your investigation? And how did you practice and refine and revise your works as you learned and as you investigated? You have to be able to answer those two things. You have 1200 characters to explain this. This is not 1200 characters per piece. This is for all of the pieces, all 10 pieces in your sustained investigation. You have to describe what you were doing with that investigation in 1200 characters. You can cite individual pieces to show a point, but you have to explain what you were investigating, what you were learning about, and then how you implemented that, how you practiced, how you experimented, how you changed what you were doing, which is precisely why I asked you to take progress shots as you were working. I asked you to take images of things that you were referencing, whether that was people or something from book, etc., etc. You have 1,200 characters to describe your investigation process. Essentially, everything you did in the class for the entire year, you have to narrow down to a paragraph. Well, 2 paragraphs. So I'm typing this up in regards to artworks that I did in college. Everything in this video, in terms of writing it down, I've been doing this on the fly. I didn't premeditate this. I didn't copy it from somewhere else. This is me organically going through the process of writing things out, revising it, rewording things to try to save spaces and characters to only say what is essential. So you get to see all of my mistakes and everything going through this whole thing. Yes, I've sped up the video in some places, and I've slowed it down in others to emphasize things that I think are really important. But the point is that I need you to kind of see this process so that you know the tools available to you to help you to get this right. Match it up to the parameters that have been set by AP Board. I've said it so many ways now. Make sure that your word count is correct. Tools, word count, look at the characters. And from there, you're going to have to rework things and re-say things. And it might take a bunch of different drafts for you to get it right. In this section here, I've even said, is this part redundant? I don't know. I'm going to come back to it later. It's just my first draft through it. Remember that after you write it out, you're giving it to me or telling me to check on it. I've already done the first draft for about 5 students in the class. Should have been more by now. It was due over a week ago. And I have ripped them to shreds. Not because the artwork isn't good. The artwork is good. It's not because there isn't important things to say. The artist statements are good. But in general, they've been way too wordy, and they haven't been formatted to the test. So it's not going to work. So I've redlined a bunch, and I plan on doing more. You are rapidly running out of time. I need to see your drafts as soon as possible, or you will have 0 time to do revisions. Okay, so the other thing that you need to do is, if you are taking the official test, you need to follow the instructions that I sent out in a previous email of how to set up your digital portfolio. There is a teacher key number that I sent out in an email that you need, and a school code number that I sent out in an email that you need. And then you can log in and see this yourself. You can start uploading your actual answers into the test right now, today. You can do it right now. When you're done with it, you click, it's either submit or forward to instructor, and then I review it finally in the official format. And then I forward it to our coordinator at the school, and they send it to the AP. All of it, all the way up through the coordinator submitting it, has to be done by the 26th of this month in order to count. That's not you sending it to me on the 26th and me turning it back to you. If you haven't done it, it will not get forwarded. It needs to be in the exact right format by that point, which means you need to have me review it now so that you have time to make revisions and get it just right. You can sign into your digital account and make revisions in there and save and come back and save and come back. That's fine. The reason I've been having you use Google Drive is that I can go in and manually put in edits and everything and send it right back to you for you to check immediately. I can't do that on the AP website. I can't change anything about it once you send it to me. So that's why we've been using Drive to do it. And if you formatted it right, like I said, you just copy and paste in your answers into the different fields on the test. All right. So I'm doing word checks and everything. And I have a little bit of space left, so I'm going to write just a little bit more. And over the next few minutes, probably won't talk the whole time, but I wanted to leave this part in so that you can see how I'm formulating my thoughts in regards to the pictures that I just showed you in this video. What is the driving investigation that's helping me with these? What common threads do they have? What was I doing with my processes to try to show what I was thinking about? What materials was I using and why? Okay, I'm at about the right word length. I'm going to go ahead and make some changes, get rid of things that I don't need. I really like my opening sentence, actually. That summarizes everything there. Basically my thesis statement. I don't love that, so I'm just going to say various industries. I'm going to reword some things here. Get rid of that little note that I wrote to myself. This isn't coming up with the word I want. The word I want is artifice. And I'm curious if it's not an English word, but I know that it's used in the art world consistently. Art is actually named after artifice. Artifice is to recreate something. Similar to artifact, but not exactly. Okay. So I'll go back and make sure that I spell check and get everything right later, before I do my official turn in. Again, my reason in doing this for you is so you can see the process of I write something, I rewrite it, I change it, I forgot to say this last time, I'm going to shorten this. Is there a more concise way that I can say this thing? Yes, there is. I'm going to take I and me and fluffy words out of it as much as I can to just say exactly what I need to say in as few words as possible. I only did it for a couple of paintings in this demo. You'll do it for 3 selected works and 10 of your sustained investigation images. Remember, for the sustained investigation, the ideas portion is the written evidence, and it answers those 2 questions, and you have 1,200 words to describe it for all 10 of those pictures. You don't want to say, picture number 1, I did this. Picture number 2, I did that. You only want to reference a particular picture if it's essential for the driving question, or you're showing a close-up of something that's important for your investigation, or something along those lines. Let's do a word count. About 10 words over, but I'm almost right on the money where I need to be. So what can I make more concise? This was in previous instruction, but even though you are only uploading 3 selected works and 10 images of your sustained investigation, the test still has slots for 5 selected works and 15 investigation images. In the email I sent you before, it has a link to use a placeholder image for numbers 4 and 5 on your selected works, and for numbers 11 through 15 on your sustained investigation images. If you put pictures in those slots, they will not be graded. They've made that very clear. I've forwarded that instruction to you. Again, review it. If you are not taking the test, remember that I still want everything formatted as if you were taking the test. The digital portfolio is essentially the only thing on your quarter 4 grade, which puts you at a pass or fail status, basically. You need to get this right. Please send it in to me quickly so we can do the revisions and I can help you. Please don't be offended when I give you feedback. It is brutal. And if you go to art school or to college in general, you need to get used to harsh criticism. I'm not going to be mean. That's not my intention in any way, shape, or form. I just want this to be as good as it can possibly be and still say everything that you want to say. So I will make recommendations for rewording on things, etc., etc. A lot of editing, probably way more than you're used to. But this is a college course, and we have to make sure it's up to that level. So I'm doing a final word count. Looks like we're doing good there. So, in summation, format it like this. Make it easy on me, make it easy on you. And don't be offended with the feedback that I give to you. Get it in quickly.